What's going on, everybody? Triple Crown 24 back today, and I saw a thread on Blowout that really caught my attention, and I decided that I was going to make a video about it. Sometimes I get inspired to make a video based on a Blowout thread. How often it actually comes into fruition? Not all that often, but this one's incredibly important because I feel that it's very impactful on a lot of people in the hobby, especially right now with the surge in card prices. There is a lot of talk about that. A lot of your favorite YouTubers have probably addressed it either directly or in passing in at least one of their videos recently. I haven't really mentioned it, I don't believe, in any of my videos. I've had private conversations about it. But this thread on Blowout today is called Let's Talk About Card Cook Groups / Discord Chats. It was posted by GA B-Ball Player 14. So I want to make sure I give credit to this user for posting this because they kind of gave me the inspiration to kind of do my own research and put together the format for this video. So big thank you to that user. I have a screen capture up of part of the post here. I just want to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. So here is the gist of it. Basically, one of the big talks about why are card prices surging right now, especially with no sports going on and on cards that have really remained stagnant or have just had a steady increase or decline over the years in price, have all of a sudden spiked dramatically. Why is this happening? And one of the ideas that's floating around is the buyers groups out there. Now, they refer to it as cook groups. I've seen several different names for it. I'm going to call them buyers groups for the sake of continuity throughout this. So all the terms that sound just a little bit different, they all mean the same thing. Essentially what these are is they are multi-level marketing schemes. And they're not as overtly obvious as a lot of MLMs are. An MLM a lot of times is often confused with a pyramid scheme, and there are many similarities between the two. The biggest key difference is that most MLMs are actually pyramid schemes and are illegal, but there are some MLMs that, despite how shady they are actually legal. They are legally allowed to operate. And there's several documentaries that kind of expose some of these MLMs that are outside of the card industry, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. But there's plenty of information out there if you're more curious about that particular subject. So why do I call it an MLM? Well, let's go over the structure of it first and explain the structure. So what happens with these cook groups, or excuse me, I already messed up my own terminology, these buyers groups, uh, they surface through social media, so Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and even here on YouTube. And what happens is that there are basically exclusive clubs that form out of these. That usually whoever the host of it is will have an exclusive membership to become a part of this circle of people who gain their knowledge about the hobby. The first one, or the first form, would be through Discord chats. Now, there are some great Discord groups. I'm a part of, I think, two of them, maybe three, I can't remember, where it's just talking about cards and showing off cards. Just fun, regular chatting stuff. And that's fun. It's no different than really any other card forum. However, these groups are not free to join, as other Discord groups may be. You have to pay a membership fee to get into them. The one that was talked about on Blowout, and there were screen captures put up in the post, and if you want to see those, you can go check out the post. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. Basically, what they are is these fees, and the one that was shown was $70 a month to join this Discord chat. Now, there are more that are on YouTube with memberships, so channels that have the requirements to offer channel memberships will offer these as basically an exclusive way to be the first one to know, or to be the only ones to know about which quote-unquote investments, I have air quotes going right now even though you can't see it, people should be targeting. So that's kind of how it works. So what happens is that you pay this membership fee to get in. And these people tell you who run this what cards you should invest in. And they make a pretty good argument. There's a lot of nice little colorful infographics and pictures. It's all, it's meant to be appealing. It's easy to read. The jargon doesn't really require any terms that are specific to the hobby. So you can be someone who has no experience with sports cards. If you just have a little bit of common sense, pretty much, you can follow their instructions and buy the cards. So what this does is it's somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what it was described as in the post that was made. I would call it that. I would also call it multi-level marketing. So I'm going to leave a link down below, and here's a screen capture here of an article that is put out by the FTC that discusses MLMs and pyramid schemes. I think this is a really good overview. So I'm going to be speaking directly from this. So here is what they define as an MLM. So keep this definition in mind while you think about what I just described to you in terms of the groups, the buyers groups. The FTC says, quote, MLM companies sell their products or services through person-to-person sales. That means you're selling directly to other people, maybe from your home, a customer's home, or online. If you join an MLM, the company may refer to you as an independent distributor, participant, or contractor. Most MLMs say you can make money two ways: by selling the MLM's products yourself to retail customers who are not involved in the MLM, and by recruiting new distributors and earning commissions based on what they buy and their sales to retail customers. Your recruits, the people they recruit, and so on, become your sales network, or downline. If the MLM is not a pyramid scheme, it will pay you based on your sales to retail customers without having to recruit new distributors. So that last line there is the key differentiation in how this is not a pyramid scheme but rather an MLM, is that you pay this membership fee to get in. Okay, so that is the first part of it. And you're basically a participant in this chat. Now, I don't know if there's any agreements that you have to make, any terms of services that you have to read and agree to when joining a Discord chat. I cannot remember what it was like when I joined it. For the ones I'm in to just, have fun and talk about cards. So I can't say for sure, but it would not surprise me if there was, or if you had to make some kind of agreement to not share this information outside of the group. Whatever you call it, a non-disclosure agreement. It's not anything that's legally binding. I don't imagine these people can do that because these aren't registered businesses. But essentially what you're getting here is there's two ways you make money. So you sell the MLM's products to retail customers. In this case, you're selling the cards that they tell you to buy up and invest in to customers who are actual collectors or people who want to buy these cards. And I imagine this is the part that is more speculative, so I cannot say this with certainty, that there has to be some kind of incentive to recruiting new people into the server, basically because that would benefit the person who is at the top of this, who is running the chat or the group, the membership on YouTube, whatever the case may be. Because a lot of the times what we see with this is market manipulation. So I'm going to touch on that here in a second. But one more thing I wanted to differentiate, again, that last line, you get paid by selling your cards. They do not pay you, or you don't have to recruit new people into this Discord chat or membership wherever you're at in order to make money on this. In fact, you really have no obligation, and you don't pay a royalty to them like most MLMs. So that is kind of the one, I guess, argument you could make against this. But it has a structure that is so similar to an MLM. It's frightening, to say the least, just because a lot of the people who are getting involved in these things don't really know a lot about the card markets. And to be honest, a lot of people running them don't really know a lot about the hobby as well. I'll get to that in a second as well. I know I keep saying that, but there's a lot to unpack with this. So a lot of these, how they work is, again, these people pump up a certain card. So here's an example of a card that has been very much widely discussed in the hobby in terms of rising prices. It's the Mike Trout rookie from 2011 Topps Update in a PSA 10. Now these are groups that are the people who are spending money on this card have money to spend. They can afford to drop a few $1,000s on a baseball card. So maybe this isn't the best example because a lot of the cards that these people tout are more affordable cards. Uh, but the Trout one is one that's been talked about a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and use that one. So if you look at the PSA pop reports on this one, to give you a little bit of backstory, if you were not in the hobby when the Mike Trout rookie card first came out, things looked a lot different. People did not look forward to Series 1, Series 2, and Topps Update as much as they do now, in my opinion, especially because the rookie card was not as popular as it was back then. I think about 2011, one of the biggest names in the hobby at that point in time is Bryce Harper. He has his first Bowman autographs in Bowman products that year. And really, those first Bowman autographs and the autograph rookie cards from Topps Chrome, or just autographs in general, or the hits like game used memorabilia, that's what people are really driven towards in the hobby. And there's still a lot of interest in that stuff, don't get me wrong. That is still a huge force in the hobby. But I would say the rookie card is kind of taken its place back at the top as kind of the king of the hobby. And that's how it was way before they started putting hits in products. And the card that kind of ushered in that transition in terms of what rules the hobby is the US 175 Mike Trout rookie card from Topps Update. So I have a screen capture of the PSA population report. So in particular, when these buyers groups are touting certain cards, such as this card right here, they will give the grade to Target. Okay, so people are not going to be looking for the PSA 9s most of the time. Maybe they might give a recommendation about a 9, but a lot of the times they're going to be talking about the PSA 10s for a lot of different cards, and in this case, that's the card that they think has the best potential in that specific grade. We always say here in the community, or a lot of people do, buy the card, not the grade, and that makes sense for a hobbyist who is a collector, but to these people, they see that numerical value, and that's what matters. They haven't been collectors before, so they don't really understand the concept of buy the grade, not the card, or excuse me, buy the card, not the grade. It's vice versa, buy the grade, not the card. Not all Gem Mint 10s are created equal. I own a Gem Mint 10 that looks very similar to several Near Mint 8s I have in my collection. It's just how it is. It's completely subjective. So, not all 2011 update Mike Trouts look the same, and they didn't all get 10s for the same reasons. But if we look at the population report that I have up on screen, for just the base cards, so they're not talking about the parallels when they're pumping up this card, it's just the base. There are 7,200 Mike Trout graded cards in the population. And among those, there's only just under 4,800 Gem Mint 10s. Now, there are Mike Trouts that are submitted to PSA probably every single week. I don't know the exact number or how much the pop has grown. I'm sure that there's information out there. I don't know if that's necessarily relevant to this video, but a lot of people will make the argument is that this is a card that the pop will continue to increase on. Well, you could say that for pretty much any card that's not a one of one or doesn't have every single card in the population already graded. It's not going to go down by any means. I mean, even if a PSA 10 Trout were to be destroyed and it couldn't be recovered, it still is listed within the population. So that doesn't change. We don't know how many of the 10s are still actually intact. I would hope so for the sake of the owners that they're still intact, but that's not really the point. The point is that if you are in the market to buy a US 175 Mike Trout and you want it in a PSA 10, there are, in theory, 4,756 as of the time of recording options that you can go with. Now that's all the cards in the population. There are a lot of those that are probably in collections. A lot of people have bought them, and some of them are more firm into certain collections. Some of them are a little bit more, well, for the right price, I'll sell. I think you're seeing that now where, now that they've gone past the $3,000 mark, a lot of people are selling their 10s and maybe buying them back in an 8 or a 9, which it makes, if that was me, I would do the same thing. That's what I would do if I had a 10. I don't have a 10. I don't actually have any Mike Trout rookies at the moment. So those are all the options that you have available. And back in 2014, when the Trout rookie card really started to rise, a lot of the criticism around the rise in price when it was $25 for just a raw copy or $50 for a Gem Mint 10 was, this is a base card from 2011. Why is this worth so much? Because people, again, weren't into the rookie card yet. It was about the autographs and the relics. The rookie card hadn't regained its popularity. I mean, there are still always been rookie collectors, but it's not like it is in the hobby right now. So you see that, and you wonder, wow, that's interesting, to say the least. Because this is kind of the same thing again. We're hearing it again, where it doesn't make sense. There's so many of these cards in the population. The gem rate is pretty high on it. It's about, it's under 75% now. But there are so many Trouts out there that are probably still ungraded. Why is this the case? And there's a lot that are probably been graded by BGS and SGC as well. Well, let's take a look at how many are actually for sale. And I'm going to show eBay here. Now, I know that eBay is not the only place to sell cards, but it is the one that we go to. And I know a lot of people who are probably going to have criticisms about that, like, oh, eBay is not the end-all be-all for selling cards. Probably the same people who would go by eBay prices for anything that they're going to try to buy or sell. So, I mean, that's with how prevalent eBay is in the hobby, I think it's definitely the best resource to use right now. And there might be a few stragglers here and there, but I'm willing to bet a lot of money that eBay has the highest population of Trouts. So with that being said, I did a search today, right before I recorded this, for Mike Trout 2011 Topps Update PSA 10. And I went through and I tried to see how many different ones actually were the card I was looking for, because when you go through this, you might have people who mislabel it. Some people who will put PSA 10 question mark on a card that is raw because they want to try to get more eyes on it and manipulate the searches. You also have a lot of the parallels. I'm not going to say a lot, but there's probably at least a dozen parallels up there, like the Diamond Anniversary. There's a few Topps Golds up there. So you have to take out those parallels as well. And if you take those out of the original 89 results that you saw, my guess is, and if maybe there's a few on there that are listed very poorly that don't turn up in this search. Maybe they're listed in the wrong category. I don't know. There's probably closer to anywhere from 65 to 75 actual Mike Trout PSA 10s that are up for sale right now. So now all of a sudden you have about, on a good day, 75 options to buy this PSA 10. That still might seem like a lot. 75 different options to buy one specific card is way above average if you consider all of the different cards out there. I'm talking all the different parallels of every single player from every single set. It's definitely way above average. The problem that you run into is you're not the only one out there looking for a 2011 Topps Update Mike Trout rookie. From my generation, that is kind of the card to have. And it's why the Upper Deck Griffey, I would say, also has seen a similar rise, is because it's the card to have for the generation before me. It's the one that a lot of people grew up with. It's the one that is talked about. It's a holy grail bucket list card. It's an iconic card. I'll go ahead and throw that out there. Excuse me. So if you think about all the different buyers who are going after it, and I kind of covered this in my why Topps Gold and Topps Black parallels are so popular, is that the supply of Mike Trout PSA 10s, in theory, should not be a problem, right? Anybody who wants a 10, who can afford it, should be able to get a 10. But that's not the case anymore. There's just not enough on the market to meet demand of people who want to go out and get them. And a lot of it is because of these buyers groups buying them up. There's just not as many options for people to go out and get them, and people, if they are really serious about getting the card, are going to have to pay more for it. And especially the investors that are a little bit late to the party, they still believe that if they enter in now, if they're recruited into these Discord chats or these memberships on YouTube, and they see that the Trout rookie has been pumped, and they see that they can still buy it for less than the expected gain that they're going to get by flipping it, they're going to go for it. They're still going to buy it, and they'll buy it at $500 more. You know, this thing starts at, when the Trout was $1,500. Now it's $2,000. Well, if I buy it at $2,000 and it's projected by this person who told me that it's going to go up to $4,000, I'm still going to double my money. So heck yeah, I'll drop $2,000 on this card, and I'll dry up the market in the process. And you're seeing it a lot with a lot of different cards. If you go and you look at the eBay search results for a lot of these key rookie cards, you'll see that what they were at the beginning of the year, there's just not as many of them out there. And it's because a lot of them are, for lack of a better term, being held hostage by these investors. They hold the cards, they pull all the chips to their side of the table, and if you want it, you got to come to them pretty much, and you got to pay their price. And what's incredibly frustrating about it is that there's a lot of collectors out there who then miss out. Now, granted, you've had a lot of time to buy a Trout rookie. You've had a lot of time to buy a Griffey rookie, and some people have made that argument. But maybe you've had to sell it at some point in time. Maybe you're new to the hobby. Maybe you've had a change in taste in the hobby and you want to try to go after one of those cards. Well, it's you got to be careful doing it now. I certainly don't support these buyers groups and what they're doing. I definitely think it's market manipulation. By the way, too, one thing to note with some of these is that a lot of these people sharing these secrets, yes, they are getting paid to give their advice with these membership fees. But if you think about it, why do these people already have copies of this card, which just so happen to already be on eBay? Think about it. They already own it, and they're telling you to go buy it, to buy their own product. So now you're paying kind of a second membership fee in order to be a part of this, because you have to actually buy the product that you're trying to sell. That's, again, one of the similarities to the MLMs and the pyramid schemes. So do I believe this is an MLM? Absolutely, I do. And it's quite unfortunate. And it's pretty sad, too, to kind of see it. In general, I thought that, again, the thread is really fantastic. I really encourage you to go check out that link, because it has some evidence, too. It has a few screen captures of what some of these touts or these investment tips look like inside some of these chats or inside these buyers groups. And you can see it with some cards that you might be very familiar with. Like, let's take a look at the Project 2020 cards. A lot of those have skyrocketed in value, and a lot of people can't figure out why certain ones are going for so high. A lot of them believe it's because of the low print runs, but some of the print runs don't really match up to what the price is. Well, here's your answer. And there's actually an example of the Mariano Rivera Vides card from Project 2020 that is one of the ones that was pumped. And they give a lot of numbers and reasons why. Now, here's the one downside, I will say. Well, there's multiple downsides. I've covered all that already. Here's the one thing that a lot of these investors don't really get in terms of buying these cards or investing in them and treating these cards like they're stocks is you can always sell a stock. You can always sell it. You can sell it at any time you want to. It will be bought back from you. You can't always sell a card and get it for the price that you are thinking about cashing in on. Now, if I said I have my Mike Trout PSA 10 and I put it up on eBay for $1,000 right now, by the time that I finish the sentence, it would probably already be sniped down and paid for by whoever the interested buyer is. That's just the way it goes. So yes, I mean, you could cash in at that, but chances are I probably have more than $1,000 into that PSA 10. And especially these new investors, again, I'm using air quotes, but you can't see it. They are the ones who are paying more for this. So you can't always, cash it in right away too. And you have to find a buyer for the card. And I guess part of that too is that if you get into trouble, or maybe you ran up your credit card too much because you bought in on this can't miss investment opportunity and you need the money, well, what do? Maybe you recruit someone new to invest in your card. That's again where the MLM ties in. And to me, it's disheartening and it's sickening too, because it's a lot of you who are experienced collectors out there who are not 100% investors. Maybe some of you invest in cards a little bit. I'm sure most of the people in this community do. You bought a card that you think will appreciate in value, and one day you'll probably sell it. I think everybody has probably done that at one point in time. I don't think anybody's bought a card thinking, man, I really hope that this goes down by half its value next week. I don't think that's ever been the case. A lot of you can make informed decisions. You know what's right and wrong. You know when something sounds ridiculous. You know when you're being taken advantage of in the hobby. With so many new eyes on the hobby right now because of all of these social media influencers and different communities that have kind of congregated here in the card community. Like, for example, Project 2020 has brought in a lot of people from the art community. You look at larger channels of athletes or former athletes who talk about baseball cards. They have followings that are outside of the hobby, and those followers see what they're doing, and that might spark some interest. Not with all of them. Again, we don't deal in absolutes, but probably a decent number of them then come on over into the hobby, and they don't know any better. They're vulnerable, and some of them, especially the ones that follow, certain influential figures and have the money to drop and seriously, quote unquote, invest. Again, air quotes one more time. In these cards, they don't really know what they're doing. They don't know how to think like a collector. That goes back to buy the card, not the grade. They don't consider that. You see a PSA 10 Trout for $2,500 right now? Okay, I'll buy it. What if the card has a really bad corner that maybe PSA messed up on? Because PSA is not perfect, SGC is not perfect, BGS is not perfect. None of the TPGs are perfect. What happens then? Well, you can try to sell the card as it is. Maybe you get lucky. And maybe you get lucky on some of these too. It's definitely, luck is always a factor that we can't really control for in any type of situation like this. Maybe a buyer gets it, they're happy with it, transaction goes through, no issues. Maybe they see the corner ding, and now all of a sudden they file a claim with PayPal. Maybe you're out your card and your $2,500 that you tried to sell it for. Maybe you do get the card back, you're lucky enough, but you have to issue the refund, and now you got to try to find a buyer who's going to drop $2,500 on a card that has a dinged corner when they can get one for a few $100s more that is pristine or in better condition. Not all 10s are created equal. And if the goal is to sell these to serious collectors, that's the kind of stuff they're going to pay attention to. They're going to buy the card, not the grade. Now, there are definitely collectors who do the opposite, who buy the grade. But they don't think in that collector mindset. And I think, as someone who is a sports card dealer and who has made plenty of mistakes, I am far from perfect, and I don't claim to be. And I've been wrong time after time after time on so many different things in the hobby about, do I think this will go up in value? Do I think it will go down? I've been wrong more times than probably most people, I would say. I've also been right a lot of the time. But I've been wrong a decent amount, and I'm okay with admitting that. It's just disheartening. And I'm kind of at a loss for words for it. And I've been wrong, but this is one thing I definitely believe in, is you have to be a collector to understand selling sports cards if you want to do it long term. I think to sell a product efficiently and to the best of your ability, you have to know the ins and outs of your product. And the only research that a lot of these people are doing is blindly following the people who are running these paid subscription services to hear about which cards they think you should invest in. It's dangerous. And it could potentially spoil a lot of people who are the future of the hobby, unfortunately, people who are my age. And that might be the worst part of this at all, besides maybe the personal circumstances or troubles that they might get into by going too deep into some of these investments. So, what can you do about this? Well, I would say don't give in to the market manipulation. If you feel that a card is being manipulated on the secondary market, don't buy it. And it might be a card you want really badly. It's a card you're worried you won't be able to get again. It might not be as low as it was last year ever again. I'll say that. Maybe it doesn't go back to normal. Maybe the market doesn't crash as some of the doom and gloomers think. Maybe that happens. Maybe I'm wrong again on that. But it definitely is not sustainable at the point we're at right now. And I believe the principle of not supporting these MLMs that are manipulative to both collectors and these naive wannabe investors is critical. It is critical that is recognized and not supported, in my opinion. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. You can let me know your thoughts down below. I usually don't tackle controversial issues like this, but when I saw this and kind of read through this forum, it got me hot. It got under my skin a little bit to really see this. I've known about the investor groups prior to this. I did. But seeing what I've seen today and sufficient credible evidence with it, it's something that is very difficult to turn a blind eye to as someone who prides themselves as trying to be an ambassador for the hobby. So thank you so much for listening. I guess kind of watching, because there's been a couple of pictures on the screen, but for the most part, not really. There goes my clock. See you next time.